Welcome everybody to the Therapist Take. We're going to talk about the abrupt changes that happen after couples are impacted with infidelity. So don't go anywhere. Hello, Xander.
Hey, Josh.
And hi, Mackenzie.
Hey.
Since I think we're all showing at once, right?
We are, yeah.
All right.
So
Hello.
true.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for being here. Carrie is not here today, so we're all sad about that.
We are.
I didn't get to say hi, Carrie, but
You can say it now.
you're
Hi,
enough.
Carrie.
You guys are enough
Oh,
for me.
thanks.
Yeah, you're
Aw.
welcome.
Wow.
Means a lot.
You're welcome. Well, I appreciate you guys being willing to do this. Mackenzie, by the way, have you ever listened to Xander on this podcast?
I don't think I've ever heard you talk on this podcast.
It's rare.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
I was
dude.
like, I feel bad
It's
now.
like soothing.
Aw, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I should do like
You got a great
He's got that
radio
vibe.
voice,
Thank you. I
man.
appreciate that.
It's so true.
I should do like a nighttime ASMR.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Video or something.
Yeah. Like
Literally.
put people to sleep.
Yeah, but
Do
in
you
a good
fall
way.
asleep in your sessions?
It actually has happened once before. Yeah, we can talk about that a different episode if you
Nice.
want.
Yeah.
You're just so down-regulating. Good for you.
That's good.
It was good. You know, it was meditative, and
Yeah. Do you get told that about your voice?
I've never heard that before.
Oh, you have a great voice.
Well, thank you.
Nice,
Agreed.
soothing voice.
I appreciate that.
Mackenzie, you have a good voice, too.
Nice.
That's what I was gonna say.
All right. That sounds fake, but okay. Thank you.
You know how I feel about you with that friend. I told you about that. My niece's friend. I was like, it's like a little Mackenzie. And I was like, I saw her recently and I was like, it is
Still
uncanny.
fits.
It is uncanny how much alike they are. And it also made me realize how comfortable I am with you.
Aw.
Because I was like, I
nice.
felt like, I like seeing her now. Like I like seeing this friend, not Mackenzie. I love seeing
No, right.
Mackenzie.
It's like,
Yeah, but I like seeing this friend of my niece's now. Like, look forward to seeing her. I expect that she'll become a therapist someday in my mind.
fun.
Yeah, if she doesn't, I'll be really disappointed. Then we
It's a
won't
lot
be
of
friends
pressure.
anymore. I'll be Mackenzie. What'd you do?
Like I went and told her not to do it,
That's
actually.
right. You're a little
Trust
mini
me.
me.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Right. Well, we have a important topic to discuss. There's something that is a common phenomenon that I'm glad. I don't know if it was you, Mackenzie, or Xander that brought it up. I think you guys
We
were
talked
arguing
about it.
earlier
Yeah.
about who came up with this
Yeah,
topic.
yeah.
But it's definitely something that happens that we need to talk about. And for everybody who's listening, we are, just so you know, it's not a bunch of quacks that are doing this podcast. We're all practicing licensed marriage and family therapists and with either certifications or upcoming certifications or future certifications in your case. Mackenzie, hopefully someday, I think, anyways. I don't know how you feel about that.
I was about to say, I'm still actively a candidate, but other
You're
than
still a
that,
candidate. I get that. Sorry. Thank you for clarifying.
I was like, I could get sued if I don't
yeah.
fix this.
We have to be sure to adequately and accurately represent. She's a candidate, but once you're fully licensed,
4 months. We
I
got
see
it.
you and
Very
on a
exciting.
track to
Soon.
get
All the
into
alphabet
the
soup.
betrayal trauma certifications.
Yes.
But you definitely are instrumental on our team in
Absolutely.
helping us with betrayal trauma work.
agree.
So
Thank
you're
you.
definitely deserving to be here. And so again, let me just kind of be clear with that. We're all qualified to talk about mental health stuff, particularly betrayal trauma. That's what we're going to talk about today. And just the abrupt changes that happen instantaneously, in couples that have been impacted by infidelity. I have long said that from a relational standpoint that the discovery of infidelity has to be one of the most overwhelming experiences that anybody could go through. Relationally, overwhelming relational experiences. Do you guys agree with that, or?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you guys see that kind of where that resonates?
One of the more intimate ways to have a relationship in our society. And then it's so rocked by this betrayal that it's very confusing for people, I think, because it's something that you may not be, you may have not experienced before. People that, wouldn't say that they have like trust issues now feel like they'll have them forever. It just feels very impactful, and the aftershocks just keep coming sometimes, I think, for people.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can see it in the way that people struggle after discovery or disclosure. That like everything they thought they believed was true is not true anymore. I mean, like I was living in a lie for a long time, or it feels like I was living in a lie for a long time. I think people get into you don't think about the relationship structure much after some time. You've been in the relationship, you're just expecting this is how things are normal, right? And then I've heard so many people say, I never would have believed that my partner would do something like this. Like it didn't even come up, right? And now what else do I just expect to be true that isn't true anymore? It just rocks every part of your foundation.
And I think although like in recovery, one of the things that is happening is this understanding of that, everybody's capable of anything. You still don't want to be in a relationship where you actually think your partner would do that. I mean, it seemed like there'd be a little more distance there than what would be healthy. So in a lot of ways, like, we're not supposed to assume they're going to do something like that. So
partners will always, or like people who have been betrayed always say like, oh, I shouldn't have trusted him, or I should have known.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I always say like, trusting your partner is like a foundational part of a relationship. Like it's not wrong to trust somebody.
Right. And you know who else does that? People who've been hit by drunk drivers.
Really?
Yeah, they'll say like, man, I saw him coming. Why didn't I brake? Or I mean, if I hadn't have had to go back if I hadn't have forgotten my wallet that morning, I had to go back to the house, I wouldn't even have. They start looking for ways to blame themselves, for just being a good driver.
Yeah, it's just impossible though, because that says nothing about the fight, flight, freeze response too.
Yeah.
Like at some point you don't have control over the way that you respond to these things.
But it is definitely a very overwhelming experience. Anybody listening to this, we want you to know that you're not going crazy. That's the way it's supposed to be. Because all of a sudden, this person that was safe became dangerous. And I really would encourage people to go back and watch our interview with Jacob Oliver on restoration therapy, where he talks about the pillars of love and trustworthiness. And so the love is all still there, but the trustworthiness is shot, because of, a unilateral decisions that were made that completely changed someone's sense of safety in the world,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so that definitely be a podcast going back and listening to. So what we're going to talk about in this one though is what some of the immediate changes people experience, or we experience with our clients in session, like immediately following the aftermath of infidelity. And I'm talking about, like, when I say immediate, I mean like it could be the following day, or 3 months down the road, somewhere like in within the first year. There's some of these phenomenons that happen relationally that seem to be universal, if not close to universal, or across the board when it comes to everybody who's gone through this. So do we have a episode breakdown? So we'll kind of give everybody a preview of what we're going to talk about, and then we'll dive right into it. So to begin with, we're going to start with this concept that we call the liminal state of existence, which is, I think, foundational to our model of how we understand what's going on with couples. And then we're going to talk about mother-son dynamics and ambivalent attachment, and we're going to move into this idea of retributive cheating. And then we're going to talk about the problem paradox. And if Carrie were here, she would be smiling, because she would say, I know how Josh loves paradoxes, because I do. Do you guys remember what MFT model had a strong emphasis on paradoxes?
Structural or strategic, yeah. It was.
Yeah, which one though?
Jay Haley?
I was about to say, is it Madonna's?
It was Haley, wasn't it?
I think
it's Milan.
Milan.
Sorry.
Oh, man, next time. For therapy bingo.
Sorry.
Well, I know this because I read a book that they wrote.
Oh, okay.
On paradoxes. So, anyways, we nerded out there just for a second.
Love.
All right, let's talk about this liminal state of existence. So, to me, this is the shift itself. This is kind of the phenomenon that really describes this point in time where you abruptly move from a position of safety to nothing makes sense anymore. Is that how you guys understand it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that I see this happen in two main ways. It's either there's a discovery or there's a disclosure. So like the betrayer either says, hey, I need to tell you I've been having an affair, or I've been doing this or that for 3 years or whatever. But I think more often in my case, I see it happening where the hurt partner will do some investigation, we'll do some sleuthing. We've had partners come in and say like, oh, they should hire me as a detective. My Sherlock Holmesian sleuthing was really impressive. But that's the skill you have to develop if like your relationship is falling apart in front of you and you don't know why. Right?
Yeah.
That's oftentimes what we see before the discovery of infidelity is that like things are not going well. There's disconnection, there's tension.
Yeah.
And the hurt partner doesn't have any clear idea of why it is.
Right.
Is it me? Did I do something wrong? Right. And so maybe for months or for years, the hurt partner is experiencing this disconnection, this tension, is unsure why it's happening. And then all of a sudden there's a reason, right? And then now it's like, oh, this is what was the cause of it this entire time.
Yeah.
Right? But I think on the other side of that,
Which offers little relief, by the way. But go ahead.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of bittersweet, isn't it, in a way? But I was going to say on the other side of it, the betrayer has known about this the whole time, right? And maybe he or she is at the place where they can say, okay, you know what? I'm done with this now. I want to move on with my relationship.
Yeah.
But then the hurt partner is saying, I just found out about this. I need time to recover.
Sure.
I was talking about that with someone the other day, and it was kind of like the delay of time between partners where one's known about it the whole time because it was their acting out, and then the other person's timeline is so different, but the person who's could be like really just sitting in their shame is like, are we going to speed this up? Because like I'm already done with it. Can we get off of this? And the other person's like, this happened a week ago. So no. So it's kind of like the confusion of timelines and expectations that goes in that. I think it contributes to the liminal state idea, which is like it being grief, but it being different grief for each person and each couple. But it also being so ambiguous because the expectations are no longer clear. The foundation feels like it's falling apart. You don't know what to do. You're trying to get sure of anything. It's kind of hard.
Yeah. I agree. And, when it comes to the secrets and when Xander, when you said like they known these things and then the partner is learning as they go, and it's like they've known all along. It's like, it's not exactly quite that simple, right? Like there are definitely some things that they knew they were doing, like, the different types of when they've acted out and been holding those secrets. But it doesn't behoove the secret keeper to remember. So they often have bad memories, and it's not like by choice. It's like part of the survivor mechanism. Like if I'm going to have to compartmentalize these things that I feel ashamed of, like I don't want to be remembering them a lot, So it is kind of hard they can remember, and that's part of our job in working with the person who's been unfaithful, is to help them remember, and hold them accountable to remembering. But then there's a larger element of like these type of secrets usually begin with emotional secrets, and they don't know what the driving force is. And I tell partners a lot of times, it's like, are you asking questions and then they're giving you a lot of I don't know answers, and they're like, yes, all the time. And I'm like, and I know that's exhausting and I know it's frustrating. It's like, but that's the answer that from the clinical perspective, that's the answer we want to hear, because it means they're not a sociopath. Like I don't want them to be able to articulate to you in like this well-spoken, well thought out fashion, this is why I did what I did and why I hurt you and continue to do it knowing I was doing it. I don't want to be able to do that. I'd be like, I say like, I would be pulling you aside, having a separate conversation with you about, you could be in danger. You know what I mean? So the fact that they can't remember, is part of the survivor process for them, but we do have to hold them accountable to that.
Well, that process can take, weeks, maybe months. I think,
Oh, yes.
During our disclosure prep, stuff comes out, you spend a month maybe working on it.
Yeah.
And then even like a day or two, a week before, somebody will say,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there was something else.
Yeah, and that's why we tend to on the therapeutic disclosures. We tend to focus on the behavioral part of secrets because it's a lot easier to remember. And the emotional parts, and those are the driving forces. A lot of times, there's not betrayal there, anyways. Like it's there's like feeling, you know, just feeling sad or unhappy, or you this is just how you've managed stress. Like partners often aren't offended learning that their partner has been feeling stress or even feeling unhappy, but it's how they've chosen to manage it that hurts so bad, or long term secret keeping, But when it comes to this liminal space, and I think this is kind of what Mackenzie, when you were talking about it, was like that there's this launch into that space for the partners. So like I always think of it as like an astronaut stuck between two worlds, and the world you came from and the world you're going to, and what we have tend to discover, we kind of assume theoretically, is that the person who's unfaithful has probably been out there for a long time, but they've somehow or another been able to portray themselves as not being out there, and that I am operating in this world of happiness that I helped create. I've been operating in it just as happy, or even for people that aren't as happy, it still makes sense, and so there's that safety piece there. And I've been doing it just like you've been doing it, but I haven't been. That's the secret, right? And then they've used their acting out behavior as a way to manage the feelings that go along with not being out there and feeling like they have to portray a different self for everybody else, right? When the partner finds out about it, they get launched out into that space. Like,
violently.
And what I always say, there's no anesthesia. And so we're going to talk about retributive cheating here in a minute, but I often will say, like, that person could go out and have sex with many people and like, forget this, I'm going to go do what you did to me, and it will not kill the pain. There's just nothing that works for them. And that's one reason why I'm like, it's just got to be one of the most overwhelming relational experiences.
I think it's one of the things that surprised me about starting work here, like 2 years ago-ish, was how similar it was to work in a grief center. Because I'd worked in one prior a little bit, and my experience of working with grief and the similar like statements about like wanting this phase to be over or wanting this feeling to go away, like very much like numbing about the present state and then not knowing what to do in order to get better. A lot of like loss of a future, basically.
Yeah.
It was so similar, even though it's so different in how it's happening.
Yeah. Because in this case, it's a loss of like an expectation or a loss of understanding. If you lose somebody, if they die, obviously that's an incredibly painful experience, but there's a finality to it. It's like, okay, this person's dead now, and I can grieve the life that they lived and the end of it. Whereas this infidelity, it happened, and of course, hopefully there's an end to the infidelity, but the relationship continues.
Yeah.
And trying to
It's the
manage
ambiguous
that.
loss. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So right, exactly. So
That Pauline Boss, I think.
Yep.
Who coined the term ambiguous loss. But speaking of that too, like with grief, there obviously is a grief process that couples have to go through because they are tasked with building a new relationship, which means they have to say goodbye to the old. But when I first heard the term liminal state, that actually comes from a grief book. It was actually a book written by a professor of mine called Hurting with God, and I'll make sure to link it. And I even use his definition when I do presentations on it, straight from that book is the definition I use because I just love how he talks about it because he basically talks about it at a point in time where you're neither this but not yet that. You're caught in this state, this in-between state of circumstance, and all you know is you don't know what's happening. You just know everything's changing, and it's not fun. It is not a fun place.
You kind of just have to hold on and hope it doesn't get worse.
Yeah, I tend to think everybody will experience it at some point in their life. Yeah. I just don't think everybody has to go through infidelity to experience it. Yeah. But I kind of think that's what a midlife crisis is. Mm-hmm. You'll get there soon, Mackenzie. We know you're young. All right. Come on.
Why?
You're 27.
Yeah.
You're not far away from midlife.
When do you think I'm going to die?
You know, Carrie, when Carrie and I were 35 years old, she used to refer to us as middle-aged. I'm like, I'm not going to live to 70. You gotta at least wait 5 years.
The developmental classes are very upset at you at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
With
and then
what?
Older age is like, 65 and up. And
yeah.
That's wild.
I would say I'm middle-aged now, and I'm 45.
Well, if you're going to be pregnant, you're geriatric at 35.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah.
Depends on how you look at it, I guess. Anyway, I wanted to ask about
sidebar there.
If we look at this from the acting out partner's perspective, or like the addict's perspective, like you said, there's this difference between the person that I am and the person I'm showing you, and so I'm pretending that everything's fine, but it's not. And oftentimes that addiction starts well before the relationship starts. And it's like, this is a behavior that I've been engaging in for decades, maybe. We look back at high school, this is or middle school, whatever. This is where these kinds of things maybe started in some cases. But if that person started that dynamic at that age and began to portray a certain perspective or certain personality that wasn't authentic, then when that dies, when that addiction stops or whenever it becomes disclosed or they go to workshops or whatever, they're AA groups or SA groups, and they're trying to recover. I wonder, and this leads to our next point, I wonder if this is what causes some people to kind of regress into a more childlike behavioral pattern or relationship dynamic. Where it's like, oh, this is actually who I am. Like the person that I am underneath actually never got through these developmental milestones, right? Because I was kind of stuck in my addiction for so long, kind of pretending.
Yeah.
And then I wonder if that ends up with these, in this case, like this mother-son dynamic that we often see.
That's a good point. Do you care if I respond to that? And then
I will too. Yeah.
Take the wheel.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's back it up a little bit. So we're moving into that second point of the mother-son dynamic and this idea of ambivalent attachment. Okay, so when you say like this, they've been doing this for years, maybe even when they were a kid, and I would agree with that. But it might not have been in the form of sexuality yet. So there's a high chance that they learn some kind of disassociating or dissociative coping mechanism to be able to manage. It's not a stretch to assume it could have been sexuality because of the way the pornography works in the industry. Like the average age people stumble into porn is 11. I think that's the last stat. Now. It might be lower now.
Wow.
On internet pornography, and that and there's no greater natural reward system in your brain than the sexual reward system. So there's a lot of reward systems, but there's not one greater than that one. So if you find it early, it's like, ooh, that helps,
I'd say especially if like parent-child dynamics at that time in your life are also not providing you certain rewarding relationship, dynamics.
100%. So part of their journey, like as it grows and develops over time, and then it becomes too big to manage, too much to manage, they finally are able to shed that layer permanently, and be like, I finally just get to be me. So they're experiencing some relief. And that's one of the troubling pieces of it is like for the partner, this person did something so terrible, but it seems like they should be hurting more than, because I know I'm really hurting, but that is because they're grieving two different things. So the partner is grieving this basically the loss of everything for them, their marriage, how they understood the world. And it's not just their relationship that they don't trust. They don't even trust friendships anymore or anything. They don't trust themselves. Right. And, but and this comes from Esther Perel, that the unfaithful partner is often just grieving, hurting my partner, because if they've been stuck out in that space, that means that they weren't in the same relationship the other person was in. They weren't happy in it like the other person may have been. So they're ready to be done with it, because being done with that is freeing to them. It liberates them. Doesn't mean they don't want to be with that person. It just means they don't want to be in that liminal state anymore. The problem is they've created a lot of damage along the way, right? But then, yes, one thing that we see in the immediate aftermath is this shift into, especially when the betraying, the unfaithful partner's male in a heteronormative relationship, or male and female, we see this shift into this kind of mother-son dynamic, and we see it on our couch, right?
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Right in front of us.
Yeah. I think that's a common dynamic in heteronormative couples, regardless of if there's infidelity. Like, I've seen it in non-betrayal trauma cases, but I think it's more amplified in betrayal trauma cases, partially because of the thing you were talking about, Xander, where it feels like the regression that you're kind of watching happen is partially due to, like, not developing the same way that one would expect because of how incongruent was comfortable for so long. It being a mismatch, wearing a mask was very comfortable and very manageable for so long that the under part didn't grow. So the mask was nice and curated for a really long time, but the under part was still 14 or something. And so they have to go back almost to, like, develop the true, or like the congruent. To be congruent, they have to go back and develop that. And I think that's part of what we see. I also think it becomes a common dynamic because of how you mentioned the detective work that partners will often do whenever they've been hurt. And that is so prevalent in working with, like, betrayed partners. I see a lot more of them currently. And just hearing the ways they could be PIs is wild. I'm like, wow, you got some skills.
Yeah.
But that becomes an almost mothering idea where you're keeping track of your teenager's cell phone. You're making sure that they're being safe and not lying to you and hanging out with okay people. Those similar skill sets become active. And I think it's also in couples where they have children. It's hard for that partner not to fall into that because they do still have to be like a mother to their children.
Yeah.
So it's hard not to just be like, well, I guess we're just going to group you into the kids now because clearly I can't trust you like I can't trust kids sometimes. Like,
Yeah, you're
I
acting
think
like a
that's how it
child.
goes. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't know if we want to get into this, but in certain, like, if you look at, like, the mother archetype, which is kind of a Jungian idea, it's like a depth psychology idea. Like, there's the nurturing aspect of it, which we all hope to feel often, but there's also kind of a consuming aspect, like an over connected idea. And I wonder if sometimes when we're feeling, women in these cases are feeling like this, they're feeling like back against the wall. I need to do something to protect myself. That's what comes out, is like, I'm going to figure out everything. I'm going to control everything as much as I can. And we see that with any kind of trauma, like trying to take control in some way.
Yeah.
So I would be interested to see how this shows up in the opposite. I don't know that I see it as much.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it does. At least I haven't seen much of it. Do you guys know who the author Yuval Harari is that wrote the book Sapiens? He really is a great book, by the way. If it's a challenging book in a lot of ways. It's a book that really kind of, it was a book I needed at the time that I read it. Let me just say it that way.
Cool.
But fascinating book on I think the subtitle is like A Brief History of Human Beings. Like, it's kind of not anything I would have picked up. I heard it on a podcast. But he really turned me on to this idea of being really interested in the power of DNA. And it was something he said, and it's how he said it that I thought was really interesting. And he was talking about, something, I'm probably going to butcher it, but something to the effect of, like, why is it that when we walked into, like, a doctor's office or somewhere and somebody has a bowl of M&Ms and even though people have stuck their fingers in it and it's got all, who knows how old they are or what's happened to them, we got to have them. It's like most people at any given point in time probably just, make a really quick trip to the convenience store and pick them up a bag of M&Ms, right? But for some reason I have to have these. And he said, because deep inside of you long ago, when we were living in caves or whatever, and you come across a tree full of figs, a fig tree, He's like, it's not going to be long before a family of monkeys are going to swing through and pick that tree clean. So you better get as much as you can and gorge yourself, basically, because it's not going to be there tomorrow. And he said, so when we come across that bowl of M&Ms, the part of our brain that makes us human knows, we intellectually know we're in the 21st century, but our DNA still thinks we're in the wild. And I like how he said that. He didn't say my survivor brain thinks we're in the wild. He said my DNA still thinks I'm in the wild. And it really got me thinking about the power of our DNA and what's coded on our DNA over eons, right? And women are coded to be nurturers, and men coded to be hunters and gatherers forever. And I think men can be nurturers. I feel like I'm a nurturing guy. I feel like a lot of men in the mental health professions are embracing that part of them that's nurturing. But one thing that I think just happens to women that doesn't happen to men, especially if they become mothers, but I don't even think it's necessarily required, is that this coding on their DNA to be a nurturer. And when something like this happens, I do kind of wonder if it's part of the male survivor instinct to become the child, because what mother is going to abandon their child, right? And I don't want to lose this person.
Wow.
And so then we start seeing this really strong mother-son dynamic, And one thing I talked to couples about going through this, I asked them, I said, what is a relationship that exists in this world where you would be worried if there weren't secrets? Do you guys know?
A relationship that needs secrets?
Yeah, like if there weren't secrets actually make sense in this relationship. If there weren't secrets, you might worry a little bit. The parent-child relationship.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I was like, with your
It's
doctor?
like kind of a double negative.
With your doctor. Okay.
I mean,
we need to make a call to Mackenzie's doctor. Like, she is lying to you.
From them to not tell me things.
She is not telling you stuff.
Okay. Anyway. Okay, yes. Parent-child.
Yes,
makes
absolutely.
total sense.
Yeah.
Right. Now, and then it's like, but can, in my view, like, I think probably in the literal sense, parents can probably have a secret from their children, but it's really kind of hard for me to think of it like that because it's a hierarchy, right? So when, like, I don't have secrets from my kids. There are things that are private. It's none of their damn business, because I'm a parent and their child, and there are things that it's not a secret. It's my business. But they can have secrets from me, and they will share those with their siblings, and they will know things about each other probably forever that I won't know. And to me, that's healthy, as part of how they're claiming their individuality, right? So when it makes sense to have a secret in your marital relationship, like, aren't you kind of positioning it to be hierarchical, which positions it to somebody's going to be the parent and somebody's going to be the child in that situation. Somebody's going to be the dominant and someone's going to be the subordinate, right? What do you guys think? Agree, disagree?
I would agree on, like, how it, regardless of who's doing whatever, the power grab, I think the imbalance is part of what's always going to be at play in a betrayal trauma case. And so, to your point, looking at it through the lens of, like, maybe there's comfort in holding a secret because maybe there's, like, a putting them in the parent position on, maybe, I don't want to say on purpose, because I don't mean consciously, but I mean, like, unconsciously, but doing it for that purpose. That could be part of what contributes to that dynamic and the imbalance that ultimately happens from a unilateral decision like betrayal.
Sure.
Yeah, just unconsciously and over time, it starts to kind of fold in this way. But also, I think we often encourage betrayers to take that one down position. We say, like, you have done something wrong here. You need to take accountability. You need to be small so that there's more space.
Well, the one down position is a nurturing position.
Oh,
if you think about it.
sure.
So it's saying, like, tell me what you need from me to help you heal.
Sure. Yeah, very true.
So in a lot of ways, it's a one-up position.
I agree with you. I think that one down position is supposed to look like that. And I
yeah,
wonder
that's the
There we go.
I wonder
the
if
optimal word.
I wonder if it oftentimes looks like, I'm bad, I'm small, I'm just a little boy.
It does, yes.
Don't hurt me. I'm just a little boy.
You're right. I'm a piece of crap.
Right. Right.
Like I'm doing what Josh said or what Xander said or McKinsey, that I'm taking that one down position. I'm just a piece of crap. No, that's not the one down position.
Yeah.
The one down position is saying, I got me and I got you right
Yes,
now.
absolutely. So I can control my regulation.
Yeah.
I'm here for me and I'm here for you, because I wasn't for so long.
Which is interesting, right? Because it looks like we call it one down, but it's actually an effort to rebalance. To get rid of the hierarchy. Like, you be the nurturer for a while. You, person who has been a nurturer probably forever, gets to be taken care of. And that's appropriate because in some of the old literature, they called it making compensation. Like, the person who betrayed needs to make compensation to, they need to own up to it and, pay back taxes or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever word I'm looking for.
Yeah, but absolutely make up for it.
Yeah. But it does hold the betrayed partner accountable to not being the mom. And that's really hard for them, and we got to be patient and compassionate toward that. But that's where it can get, it gets hard, it gets dicey because they don't know how to do this part.
Well, I think I'd frame it as like a form of compassion. Like, you're wanting to take care of this person, even though they hurt you.
100%.
But in some cases, when it's not so compassionate, and this is the next point about, if so I've been hurt by you, and now I decide to hurt you in the same way or similar way. I think that's just something that Josh is saying is not as common, but the desire to it seems to show up quite a bit.
Yeah, well, it's not as common anecdotally. Like, we haven't, or it hasn't been reported. If it has happened, I'm not saying it has happened.
Yeah, I've experienced
where people have, clients have, someone's found out the other one cheated, and then in an act of retribution, they went and had an affair with themselves. Obviously, it's not advisable.
Yeah,
I do think that most partners who go through have experienced infidelity, want to have a desire for retribution, some level of it. And some people have a very strong desire and still won't act on it, but then there are those that actually will act on it. And it's just dangerous, obviously, because, it's not, you're still with a human being, and that person will still be very hurt by that. But the difference is the intentionality. Like, one thing that would make that infidelity different than the infidelity on you is that you're doing it to hurt that person, and the person that cheated on you wasn't trying to hurt anybody. I'm not trying to let them off the hook. Like, they're very much on the hook, and they might lose their marriage and family and because of it. But they often aren't consciously, anyways, going out and I'll show you. So it kind of creates a whole different problem when it comes to the pain and hurt.
I think the intentionality is really hard because we talk about, like, in the field, some like intent versus impact type of stuff, where the impact might look the same, but the intention would be different behind it. So saying, like, the acting out partner, I guess in this one, it's initial acting out partner. The initial acting out partner wouldn't be intending to do it. That might be part of why the hurt partner is so hurt, because how did you do that unintentionally?
Right, yeah.
That's actually something I hear a lot, which is, what? You didn't even care that that's what you were unintentionally doing to us? That's actually a huge system problem where it becomes, it feels like an outsourcing of accountability, sort of, because it becomes your dissociative state or your numbing state is now like a pass because you didn't mean to.
Yeah.
It was just what I was numbing. And I think that speaks to what you're talking about, which is we're not trying to let them off the hook, but we're trying to understand
Sure.
Whenever you're doing like trying to get that retribution through cheating, you're creating a different
Right.
facet to the problem, and you're trying to, most typically that I have seen, has been an attempt to regain control, to feel validation or like care, which is that positioning that we talked about, or it's simply impulsive led. I just want to hurt them, and this will work.
I want them to feel how I felt, how they made me feel.
Exactly.
Exactly. And what's weird is it never will make them hurt the same way because people hurt differently.
That's true.
That'll just
Yeah.
never be true.
There's a loneliness to it that is really where people that connect with someone else who's gone through it, they're connecting over the loneliness, because no two situations are the same. But one piece that's the same is how alone you feel in that no one gets it. You know, and to your point, there's a couple things that you said I wanna tackle real quickly. One of them is that when you said the part, or what was the part where you said like it could also be the other way. I know. Well, let me say what I was thinking about and see if we can connect
See if we can go
because
backwards.
it made me think of when a partner. Well, now I've lost my train of thought on it.
If you could just, Mackenzie, if you could just go back and say
Yeah.
everything you said
Okay,
all over
hang on.
again, word for word.
There was something that you were saying
Intent
that
versus
was
impact.
where you were saying like it that it could be looked at the other way. I think you were talking about intent, but I can't remember.
Yes, it being looked at as like it being unintentionally done sounds like a really good answer to maybe someone who hurt the other person. It's like, well, I didn't mean to. I don't know how many times I hear that in
yeah.
very plain speech in other situations, like
Yeah.
between like children. I'll hear that in my family.
Right.
I didn't mean to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So?
that was the thing that there's not what they find out is like there's never a satisfying answer despite what it is. So it's like we've had people that have said like they'll go and seek out the affair partner and they want to see what they look like.
Yeah.
Right. And if they perceive that person to be prettier than they are, then they're like, that. I guess that's what you want, right? And I'm not as pretty as this person. And you want something different, you know. And then, but if that person is, for lack of a better term, uglier, you know, not as pretty, then they're like, what is this? I mean, I guess like no matter what I do, it's not going to be good enough, right? It's like it's just. So whichever direction it goes, like it is like a very much a no-win situation because it hits on maybe I'd love to hear Jacob's perspective. Like it might hit on that love aspect of like how could you not love me enough to stay faithful? You know, is what that boils down to. And what I have come to find out is that it really has the question that they're really have to tackle is how come I didn't love myself enough to stay faithful? Because love for the partner is usually not in question from my perspective. For the partner, it's going to be in question.
Yeah.
But clinically, kind of, you know, outside looking in, it always seems to be like what we end up working on is helping this person love themselves enough to stay faithful.
Yeah, and that lack of love, I think, is like it can sometimes be a lack of maturity or a lack of healthy development, which again starts early on, you know. And this goes back to the previous point about being childish in your relationship. But as we're kind of getting low on time, I was wondering if we could move to that final point to talk a little bit about the progress paradox.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that?
I like how Xander just moving us along.
Yeah, just pushing
He
through.
knows
I got a
what he's
clock
doing.
right
Well,
here.
what's
Let's go.
in the when they have on city council or whatever, and you're these different who keeps track of time? What's the name of the?
We're talking about like watching
The
C-SPAN.
timekeeper.
I don't spend a lot of time
There's
watching
an officer
C-SPAN.
that keeps track of time. I can't
Timekeeper.
remember what they're called, but you would be that officer today.
Thank you.
So the progress paradox, you know, most people hear it as, you know, things get worse before they get better, right? And so therefore the worsening of things is part of the process of progress, right? One way that an old professor of ours always said it was that progress looks like destruction in the beginning. And that's probably a better fit. But I even think it's even more than that when it comes to doing this work, because it's a complete leveling, and one thing I always say is that love is the foundation. That to me is where couples find the hope, is that, because I really do, it's part of a fundamental belief or a foundational belief of mine when it comes to relationships, is that I really do believe that we, more often than not, or at least we fall in love closer to our partner's true self than any other time. I'm not saying it is their true self, but when we're dating and we're falling in love, like we're falling in love with their true self, because we often hear people say, like, when we're dating, you got to put your best foot forward, right? And your best foot forward is me without my crap. And that's how a lot of people have described what the true self is like, it's me without my stuff. But then we forget, I'm supposed to also introduce my stuff. I just don't leave that behind, And so this love is the foundation, but despite what the Beatles say, love is not all you need, right? And so you don't want to sleep on a concrete slab, right? But it is foundational. But we're completely leveling it, and that is that destruction piece. And couples feel it when they come in, because they're grieving it. And they're like, what are you doing to us? Type thing. Like, what is happening to us? This is getting worse.
Yeah.
I'm like, and it's scary. I don't know how it is for you guys. It's scary for me too. Because maybe it is, maybe it's just getting worse.
Yeah.
And it's not part of the progress. But we see this, whether we know we're looking for that, right? When they come in, we're waiting for something like that to happen. So otherwise I start to question it. Like, I don't trust it.
Well, I'll say, like, it's a death, right? It's a death, and,
Sure.
and death is violent, and it's or can be, I guess, violent.
Yeah.
It definitely feels that way, even if it's not. But death to a relationship that's continuing can feel very violent. So how long would you say that process lasts, do you think, where it just feels like it's getting worse?
When it comes to betrayal trauma, I would say it's hard to say, like, how, like, it's not a constant.
Of course.
I think there's some hills and valleys in it. What I can say is, like, I would say the hardest part is probably, the first few months when your body's trying to regulate itself, and getting out of that crisis. And then, but the first year is really hard, because you're having to go through all the firsts in this new state of existence. The first Christmas, the first Thanksgiving or birthday, or the first January 3rd. You're having to go through all that, and that is difficult. And so you got to get through that first year. But it doesn't mean it's going to be a year of just utter misery like it is when you first found out.
Yeah.
But then, there'll be times where you're really doing self-discovery work, and it's feeling really good. And then you're climbing, and then you're going to hit a lull, and it takes a little bit. But I will say, like, I believe anyways, like, it eventually becomes a journey you want to take, and I don't think it's not a forever. I mean, the journey's forever, but the eventually you get really good at building, and you like it. I'm not that you like the incompleteness of it, but like that you've built your house now in a way where you can add on, and doesn't have to stay the same. And that's very ambiguous, probably, answer. What do you guys think?
Well, there's no clear answer, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think on the clinician side of the progress paradox of it feeling so sometimes difficult to navigate this with clients, because it's just such heavy content a lot of the time that sometimes it can feel, I heard someone use this as a metaphor, and I feel it's more fitting. Even if this isn't true, I feel it's more fitting. But like the idea of being like a pilot who has to, like, trust their system more than they trust their eyesight, where you have to trust what you're doing more than how you feel about what you're doing sometimes in the progress. So basically implementing other markers that tell you you're doing what you want to be doing to work on the health of your relationship and yourself, that aren't just how you feel about yourself that day. Those are really hard markers to only be, like, that being the only marker is a really hard way to, like, feel like your relationship is making progress because it's so subjective. It's so impacted by so many variables. So I think it's really beneficial in building progress, regardless of if that means relationship together or relationship apart. I think it's important to build that into the concept of progress, is that there's multiple variables that you could look for to seek growth that isn't just I feel better or I feel more stable. You can also look into like, okay, what does it look like whenever you're leaning on your support system? How much are you leaning on your support system? What does it look like whenever you're trying to be mindful about how you're regulating? Like, you can look at more concrete things because of how ambiguous it can feel. So trying really hard not to just use eyesight, but to use your system that you're building with your therapist.
I think it's such an important message to express to listeners who are going through this, is the idea that just because it doesn't feel like it's working, or that doesn't feel like it's going well, that it's good, doesn't mean it isn't. It very much could be. And we say, like, you know, sometimes you go talk to your partner, like you're the unfaithful partner. Sometimes you go talk to your partner and she's really upset. And say, why would I go talk to her anymore? Like, she's just mad all the time. And we say, well, you do it anyway because it's demonstrating your consistency in the relationship, you know? And it gives her an opportunity to heal, you know?
Which is why it's real important to build your community. Like, doing this in isolation is bad news.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if you don't have a therapist, then, you know, a trusted clergy that knows what they're doing, or there's definitely plenty of clergy out there that I trust.
You've got your AA groups. You also have your Al-Anon groups, you know, and you've got all sorts of groups.
There's all types of community, but even just friends that love and support you, you know, and that can serve, then not just a yes person and someone who just tells you what you want to hear, but somebody that is willing to challenge you, and they're invaluable.
Well, another element in community building that I think would be way helpful for many people, that I think is way undervalued currently, is like the idea of having like someone in your life who's walked through this before you, which is why AA or Al-Anon can be really helpful, because it relies heavily on this idea of mentorship. I think mentorship is super valuable in that community too, because it doesn't have a peer thing going, and it doesn't have a super structured hierarchical thing. It just says, hey, I've done a little bit of this. This is what I did. Let me be there for you, and we can talk. I think that's a super valuable part of those communities that we send people
100%.
to often.
And I'll make sure for anybody listening that put information in links into the description of the video, or if you're listening to this on the audio podcast, we'll put it in the show notes. But just make sure that you subscribe to our channel, give us a 5-star review if you're listening to this on the audio podcast, and hopefully we'll get. I know we'll have Xander back. Hopefully get you back again.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can do your boundaries talk.
Love.
What we need to do. But
Can't
thank you
wait.
both for being here and contributing to this.